You know, every World Cup is packed with these legendary moments, right? But one of the most famous, one that people have laughed at for almost 50 years, well, it holds a pretty terrifying secret. And today, we're gonna uncover it.
Oh, you've definitely seen this clip. If you've ever watched a World Cup bloopers reel, it's always there. You see this player from Zaire just inexplicably sprint out from the defensive wall and boot the ball downfield before Brazil can even take their free kick. It looks totally absurd, comical, almost like he's never seen a game of soccer in his life.
But what if that kick wasn't about not knowing the rules? What if it was an act of pure, desperate panic? See, that's the real story here. And believe me, it is way darker than any blooper reel will ever show you. Okay, so let's start by digging into this mystery from the 1974 World Cup. So, picture this. It's 1974, West Germany. Zaire is playing the defending champs, Brazil. Brazil gets a free kick. The ref blows the whistle, and before anyone even moves, Zaire's defender, a guy named Mwepu Ilunga, just dashes out of the wall and absolutely blasts the ball away. He gets a yellow card for it, and the entire world just laughs at him. And the reaction from the commentators at the time, well, it tells you everything. They called it a moment of African ignorance, just assuming this team from Africa had no idea what the rules were. And honestly, that narrative stuck for decades. But the real truth isn't on that soccer pitch. To understand what happened, you have to understand who this team was, and more importantly, who was in charge back home. You see, this wasn't just any team. This was a huge deal. They were called the Leopards, and they were the very first team from sub-Saharan Africa to ever make it to the World Cup. They were basically carrying the hopes of an entire continent on their shoulders. Their story is really a tale of two halves. Before the World Cup, back home, they were national heroes. Their dictator, Mobutu Sese Seko, showered them with gifts, cars, houses. They were his pride and joy, a propaganda tool. But then they got to Germany, and it all fell apart. They lost 2-0 to Scotland, which was bad enough. But then they got demolished 9-0 by Yugoslavia. And just like that, they went from heroes to a total international embarrassment for the regime. And that humiliation, it had consequences. This is the exact moment the story turns from a sports failure into a genuine life or death situation. 9-0. You have to try and imagine how a dictator like Mobutu would react to that scoreline. To him, it wasn't just losing a game. It was a deep, personal humiliation, broadcast for the whole world to see. And he was absolutely enraged. So before their final game, against the soccer powerhouse Brazil, no less, the players got a little visit. Not from their coaches. No, this visit was from Mobutu's own elite presidential guards. And they were not there to give a pep talk. They delivered a simple, horrifying message, straight from the dictator himself. If you lose this game to Brazil by 4 goals or more, none of you are going home. Period. All of a sudden, this wasn't about winning or losing anymore. It was about survival. So, with that chilling piece of context, let's go back to that funny free kick. It doesn't seem quite so funny now, does it? This brings us right back to that crucial moment, where in the final minutes of the game, the score is already 3-0 to Brazil, and they're just awarded a free kick in a super dangerous position, a perfect spot to score. 3 goals down, 1 more goal for Brazil, and the score is 4-0. 1 more goal, and Mobutu's death sentence gets carried out. Can you even imagine the pressure on those players in that defensive wall? The tension must have been just unbearable. They weren't just defending a goal anymore. They were defending their lives. So now we see the truth. Mwepu Ilunga's kick wasn't a mistake. It wasn't ignorance. It was a desperate, calculated act. He was trying to waste time, get himself a yellow card, disrupt Brazil's rhythm, anything he could think of to stop them from scoring that 4th goal and to run out the clock. He was willing to be mocked by the entire world just to save his teammates. The team survived the match. It ended 3-0. They made it. But their ordeal and their tragic legacy was really far from over. When they finally got back home, Mobutu didn't have them killed, but in a way, he just erased them. He stripped them of their honors, he took back the cars and the houses he'd given them, and many of those players spent the rest of their lives in poverty. The very men who played for their lives were forgotten by their country and remembered by the rest of the world as a joke. And what about Ilunga, the man who kicked the ball? He passed away in 2015. For over 40 years, right up to his very last days, he insisted he wasn't ignorant. He knew exactly what he was doing. He was just a man trying to make sure his teammates got to go home to their families alive.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? The next time you see a clip of some supposed blooper, it's worth asking, what might be happening just outside the frame? What kind of pressures, what fears, or what truly terrifying realities are we just not seeing?